Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the tier list update for 5.18. My name is Alpha Jackal, and before we jump right into it, we're gonna just go through the ground rules like we do usually. This tier list is based on competitive play at the high level, predominantly in the European SPL, but we'll also take notes from North American SPL, SMITE Minor League, and the Global Series games. Without further ado, let's get right into it. First change is actually going to be in the S plus tier. Chernobog recently received a nerf, going to be moving down slightly, just a bit. The change to his ult really doesn't affect his viability, it just affects his carry potential. I wouldn't be surprised if we still see him as 100% pick ban rate at Worlds, but his overall game does get decreased slightly now that he no longer has access to devastating autos when he lands from his ult. Still gets damage mitigation, still gets that global slow, still gets that global rotatability, just no longer instantly killing people when he lands. Janus, going to be next up on the tier list, going to be moving down from S to S-. Haven't seen as much of Janus recently, and that comes down to the fact that Chronos Pendant got nerfed in between Summer and Fall, and Book of Thoth getting a massive buff. Whilst he does synergize extremely well with Book of Thoth, he so does pretty much every other mage in the game. And his big burst ultimate isn't as confirmable in terms of its damage when you compare it to somebody like Agni, somebody like Raijin, somebody like Zeus, Arpwash. Their ults are a lot easier to hit when it comes to just slap banging you. And that's why we sort of see Janus fall down a bit. He's still got massive team play potential with his global mobility, his portals, can reposition some gods who struggle to reposition, gods like Ymir, Sylvanas, and Ares, can really help them out in the early game, mid game, and late game, just because they're then able to move around a bit faster because of the increased movement speed going over the threshold or going through a portal, as well as the repositioned ability of those abilities. But yeah, once we see Book of Thoth get nerfed at some point, which I believe it will do soon, Janus' stock is going to rise back up again, and we're going to see him moving up because it's going to get played more. But for now, just moving down to S- because of a lack of playtime, because of the reasons which have just been stated. Mercury. I believe everybody could see this one coming. Straight up to S+. Golden Blade can just fuck right off. It's not fun just walking up to a camp and seeing it instantly get cleared by Merc 1. I mean, can't really do much against that. What stops him from being SS is the fact that he doesn't have any other roles that he could play. Amaterasu and Athena, they do have other roles, but they do have their weaknesses towards him. Athena does have some time where she, if you manage to force her ult off a bit earlier, then she doesn't have that global mobility, which means that he doesn't have an ultimate in the team fight. Amaterasu, if you're managing to bait out her shield reflect, she's pretty much the same kill as any other support. Her control would be about lacking at that point. Mercury just brings good control, good damage, good clear, good sense of mobility in terms of his rotations from base all the way to lanes and from lane to lane. Can be built in multiple different ways, but the fact that he can only play jungle stops him from being SS in my mind. Osiris and Bellona are going to be moving down. They're going to be moving down to A+. Recent nerf to Berserker Shield means that we're not going to be seeing as much play with them. So they're just going to be moved down a bit slightly. And just as a quick thing, Sobek is going to be moving up to S as well, with Cerberus moving down to S-. Just swapping those two around, as we've seen a lot more Sobek recently than we have Cerberus in the solo lane. And that swap should now reflect that Sobek is the more prioritized pick out of the two. Look, moving on to the A+ category. On her, going to be moving down to A, in a meta that's been focused more heavily around the dual lane, in terms of its early prevalence and the amount of farm that they're going to be getting, and the confirmation around the purple buff and red buff that we've been seeing. Anher's not being picked. His secure isn't really there. His burst is very skill shot oriented, and he's just not really been a presence in team fights like some of the more traditional ADCs that we've seen picked, like Ram, like Jing Wei, who he's been picked up a fair bit more as well. Hatchman has got a good team fight ultimate. Artemis as well. And he just doesn't really bring that. His ultimate does a lot of damage, good single target damage, but when it comes around to the team fights, he just severely lacks the control that other ADCs do bring, or that long-range survivability that gods like Ram and Tu Yi can bring. So it's just be moving down a single tier. Terra, next up on the list, going to be moving all the way up to S. Big change for Terra. Been seeing a lot in support recently. Seen a fair bit in solo lane too. So good flex pickability between the two roles. Her ultimate is just absurd. Did a quick calculation earlier, and if you hit a enemy god and yourself, so if you get the bare minimum, which is just you and one other person, it's a 1000 health swing at max rank. 1000 health swing. If you hit every single member in the game, all 10 players, including yourself, 5000 health swing in a team fight. I'm gonna leave that on the table. 5000 health swing. Again, that's before mitigations coming out from from the tanks on the enemy team. But still, you fucking hit 5000 health. That's in an ideal situation, mind you. At most, you're hitting 4 people, let's say. Still a 2000 health swing in a team fight. What the fuck is that about? And walls just deny rotation paths. A giant root just makes it so it's very difficult to chase into the Terra. Her passive is really strong as well, being able to be immune from knockups when gods like Sobek are being highly prioritized, when gods like Sylvanas being picked for pressure. Gods like Mercury, you can't special delivery the Terra when she has a monolith up, you're just stunning her rather than stunning and throwing her. There's not much you can do against the Terra these days, unless you have a good comp to, just blow her up. If you have a god like a Zeus or a god like an Arpwash, that's what you do to deal with the Terra. And you can sort of focus out her weak early game. Once she hits level 4 onwards is really when she becomes basically unstoppable in the solo lane. Yeah, you need to shut her down early, is essentially how you deal with the Terra. Nox going to be moving down to A. Recently we have seen a fair bit more focus on the dual lane. And that just means that whilst Nox's single target focus is really good, her peel ability just isn't really there. And we've seen gods like Sobek, like Terra, like Ansarosa, like Athena, who've got good peel ability being picked up the support role, simply because the good team fights are sort of needed over on that duo side. And that's why we've been seeing a bit less Nox. That's because the team fights have transitioned over there, rather than transitioning into mid, where she is a bit more prevalent. You just lock down the enemy support, bang, you kill them. A bit more difficult to do that in a 2v2 than it is a 3v3. So Nox's viability just falls down slightly, especially when we're seeing high burst mid laners transition into the meta. You have to commit a lot of your kit to one target, and you either commit it to the support and then the mid laner kills you, or you commit it to the mid laner and then the support just CCs you so you're unable to really follow up from your own CC chain, or they just save their mid laner from the devastating damage that you see. And when we're seeing picks like Geb be a bit more prevalent, see picks like Chiron be a bit more prevalent, Nox's stock is going to fall. Spoilers, Chiron is getting a move. Because of its recent buff. But when those two gods are sort of picked up a bit more, gods like Nox do lose their viability because their CC is so focused. Because their viability is so focused around their CC when it's focused onto a single target. We have 2 assassins going to be moving down from A. Thanatos and Camazotz, both going to be moving down from A to A-. Camazotz, we talked about this just before the stream started. Well, the YouTube started, it was said on stream. The fact that he doesn't bring a lot to the table that other assassins don't bring, whilst they also bring CC, means that Camazotz isn't really a tremendous pick. He's really picked as sort of like this annoying dive-heavy jungler that can escape a lot of the bullshit in fights because he goes up into the sky and doesn't give a fuck. So that's why you're not really seeing too much Camazotz recently, because you don't need junglers like that right now. You want junglers that are able to get in, kill people, and continue the team fight afterwards. Gods like Mercury, Serket, Naja have been really prevalent in that sort of sense. Bakasura is starting to make a resurgence once more. Hombat, again, is coming into the foray because of his giant control in the team fight. And you're seeing gods like that more rather than the traditional, I'm going to go in, burst a single person, and then leave. And that's sort of the same reason why we see Thanatos being moved down. Khepri has been seeing a fair bit more play recently, and Alkwong and Thanatos are traditionally the counters to the Khepri, and we haven't been seeing Thanatos at all, even when Khepri's been picked. So yeah, that's sort of why I'm moving both Thanatos and Chemazods down. We just haven't seen the play from them to warrant them being a bit higher up. So that's it for the A tier. But moving up, we're going to be seeing Chiron from A- to A+. Like I said, been seeing a lot more play recently, has good flexibility between mid and ADC, and he's been seeing a lot more play recently because of the buffs to his early game. He's got good control in the early game because of his heal, affect either him or his support, so it's a bit more difficult to burst down the lane which he is in. If you're playing a god like Khepri or a god like Dox, it's got very good single target damage. You can't really pick that into the Chiron because he's just going to cleanse it, and then the whole point of picking you, the whole control that you've got then is kind of moot. You would pick Khepri otherwise for the revive, but in terms of the early game, you do want to land a root and then land that pull onto somebody, and then Chiron's just going to cleanse it. That's sort of why you are seeing Chiron a bit more. His early game got buffed, and he's got good control and he's got good supportability whilst being a long-range damage dealer with his ultimate. So he's going to be moving up. And the final change which we got going for us is going to be Alkwong. Alkwong, I believe, is going to be moving up all the way to A. In Europe, he hasn't really seen too much play. Oh, Smin with the host. Thank you so much, Smin. Hope you had a good stream. But yeah, Alkwong hasn't really been seeing too much play in Europe, but in North America he has been seeing a fair bit more. I don't want to move him up any higher than A+. He's got good snowball ability. He's also has the ability to get snowballed on. And at most we've been seeing him in games with E United most of the time. I think we've been seeing him in a couple of other games as well, but most predominantly we have been seeing Scream playing him. And this is going to be a bit of a frank statement. If E United are playing God and making the God look good, that doesn't matter. Because E United will be able to make any God look good in North America right now. That's just my personal opinion. Because I don't think they're getting challenged enough by some of the teams in North America. I think Spliced and at times SSG are challenging them, but all the other teams sort of do need to step it up to be able to begin to challenge United, and they're the ones that are playing gods like the Alkwong and gods like Pele and making them look extremely good. When I don't think they're really as good as they're being made out to be in those sets. But he has been played a fair bit more recently. He does have decent assassinate ability, and he's got a good re-entry to the fight. You manage to pick off a target, you manage to get that execute off, you're then able to re-enter the fight once a few more abilities have been wasted and once a few people are trying to escape. If you can actually get that execute off in the fight, you've essentially won the fight, because anybody that tries to back out, you just go ahead and kill them. You're untargetable for the next 5 seconds, you're then able to re-enter the fight, like I said, once some cooldowns have been used, once some relics have been used, and he should be able to freely farm the rest of the fight. His passive is really good. It's not the best passive in the game, but it's a really good passive, giving him extra lifesteal, giving him extra power. That extra lifesteal is really the selling point of the passive. Extra power, okay, so do other gods get extra power, but extra lifesteal is really good. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed on the YouTube. Hope you guys on YouTube enjoyed, if I can actually speak. I'll be seeing you for the next tier list update in a couple weeks. For those guys on stream, let's have a bit of Q&A. See ya!